Welcome back, Z-Man fans, as we are tackling another episode of Raised by Wolves. We are on a warpath here. We're on episode 7 called Faces. And I think this title is very wisely made for this episode, Adam, with what happens later on between Marcus and his former self. But
A lot of symbolism in the names, as always. This
it
episode,
is.
no exception.
And I can really appreciate that when episodes do that too, and it actually makes
Right.
sense for what they did. But either way, getting straight into it, with mother and father now down and out, captured, basically, Sue sees this as a perfect time for them to jump ship and get away from these Mithraics. They have Paul, they have each other. Let's just get away. But yet Marcus cannot let go. I think it's part of the power. I think he's still trying to figure some things out, but mostly he wants to try and reprogram father and mother before they leave, because they see mother as a full, the ultimate weapon, and whatever they get in the future could be taken away from them if they don't have the proper type of force to combat. So
Yeah, he has some very logical ideas about wanting to defend themselves and being able to potentially use Mother as a weapon and just use Father as a standard android.
yes,
So he keeps them both around. But what's interesting is, after he's like kind of talking to Mother and Father and figuring out what to do with it, Mother kind of starts spilling the beans on him. Like, she can see the scars, and
yes,
she kind of tells him she knows who he is. And there's this scene later where Lucius is watching them, and she even says right in front of Lucius that he's surgically altered. And Lucius is like, interesting. I don't know if he knows what to believe, but he definitely hears it.
I was watching his movements extremely closely, and although it kind of caught him off guard. I think when he says, he goes, these machines are amazing. Even now, she's trying to save her own life by lying. I think he still believes in Marcus at this point in time, but no doubt, I'm sure it puts a small little inkling of, isn't that very interesting that
Yeah.
that their Mithraic robots could be programmed to try and do something like that. And with Father reprogrammed, we see his finger twitching a bunch during this episode, which doesn't quite get revealed till later on, when we find out that it seems like either it's some bit of father or something is still in that area, because it manages to save mother at a very crucial moment when Marcus is trying to dump her down one of the major pits. In fact, it's the pit that is in the forested area, not the one that's in the open desert area. And talk about clutch timing.
Yeah, no, well, Marcus does eventually decide to get rid of Mother, right? And that's part of when she has the big reveal to Lucius. And he kind of pulls her out on like this sled device. Well, he follows Father while Father's doing the pulling, and tells
Yeah.
Father to cast her into the pit. And so, yeah, he pulls the rope, and the sled falls in, and the rope catches his finger. And in the meantime, Marcus has this vision, that this like voice in his head saying, "Let her live," and he's kind of brought to his knees. So while he's dealing with this, Mother's able to climb up the rope that's still stuck on one of Father's fingers and get out of the pit and basically get free.
And while all that's going on, he has one of his crazy visions. He has in Marcus on the side. He sees his former self, Caleb, standing right in front of him. And of course, confused by this, whatever, both of them have knives drawn, and they start going at it, and they're fighting each other. And it looks so close, like they're hitting move for move. So it looks like he's really just battling himself, right? There's no way that he can try and outdo himself, except for the very last move, which I had to watch a couple different times just to make sure. And I finally showed Adam too. If you notice extremely closely, it is Caleb, the former Caleb, that makes the final slashing move and rips into Marcus's chest, or stomach for that matter, whatever. And that is super weird, because if he was battling his former self, and if it's just a vision, then how did this come to be? Did he do it to himself? We just don't get it fully shown to us in the fight scene. I don't know. Kind of weird.
Well, and the thing that makes it seem more real is, like, with all the things that people are seeing, like Father seeing Tally and Mother seeing Tally in previous episodes. Well, after this fight is over, Caleb has Marcus has a real wound.
Yes.
So
Oh, yeah.
whatever happened there wounded him.
Yep.
Whether or not that apparition he was fighting was real or not, he's definitely got a wound now.
Yep.
And what we saw was the Caleb he was fighting deliver the wound.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Very interesting. A couple of things that were going on throughout the episode. There's a moment where Paul is, and the clerics are kind of watching him as he's kind of crafting this interesting looking little city out of rocks. And they believe that he could be crafting the city of Mithras, and saying that he's had visions of it. And that is it possible that they've misinterpreted the prophecy, and that Paul could be the one that are going to lead them to the promised land or whatever, which is interesting about prophecies, especially for those who have watched Game of Thrones and other Star Wars and whatever. Prophecies are never cut and dry. It's not like it's a prophecy because they're not fully sure how it's supposed to go down. Only a little piece of it could be true. The whole thing could be true. It's hard to say.
Well, I can think of at least 3 people who fit the orphan child prophecy in this show. And Paul is one of them.
Yep.
And yeah, it on the one hand, like it seems like it's right in line with the prophecies, and there are definitely things going on that you could directly attribute to Soul if you wanted to.
Yep.
But on the other hand, like there's enough room for doubt that they could just be random occurrences or multiple things going on that could be perceived as the same thing to a religious believer. We don't know.
Yeah.
But we do know he had a vision, and the vision happens to match something that he was taught as a kid.
This is true. And the other 2 members you're talking about, we might as well get into it because it is all part of this episode. We've known for a while that Campion is possibly believed to be one of these other members. But now, brand new to the show, or at least to our thoughts, is now Marcus thinks he could be that boy.
Right, and that's actually one of the things that further drives a wedge between him and Sue is that Sue wants to leave, and Marcus is starting to believe, I can't leave. I am the orphan from the prophecy.
yeah, and he's in deep now. He's starting to believe. I think he can't figure out a way how to break himself from this. It's too important to him now. Meanwhile, also throughout this episode, as Campion is locked up at certain points in time, because obviously they don't know if they can trust him or not, he has visions of Tally within the silo, and these are during nighttime, and it was very creepy because things start just appearing within the silo. One of our little stick dolls manages to end up in the middle of the room. It has some kind of like little saber tooth inside of it or whatever, and the voices are telling Campion to kill himself and to join them, how they miss him. I mean, whatever is doing this, whatever it is, the deity, whether it just be some weird ghost visions is haunting them. This thing is malicious.
Yeah, and the other thing that's kind of interesting too is like, in spite of the fact that Campion is in trouble, Paul keeps interacting with them and trying to give them food and stuff like that.
Yes.
And in the process, the Mithraic clerics give Campion a chance to denounce his atheism and join the ranks of the followers of Soul.
Yep.
And he gets so mad by seeing the gravestones of his dead brothers and sisters being used to kind of as part of the church.
Build the church.
That when he sees it and he asks them about it, and they basically make the comment like the souls of atheists,
they don't matter.
They don't matter. And that I think at that point he's like, nope. Done.
I'm
not doing this. So
yeah, he gives them the big F you. Of course he didn't say it, but yeah, he's totally not going to follow these guys now. Not after pulling some stuff like that. It's not going to happen. So those were a lot of the big things that happened in the episode. A couple of last little tidbits. Paul ends up finding his mouse alive, and he's like, "Mom, look, Soul brought Mouse back to me."
Soul?
Well, is it Soul? Yeah, right. A demonized mouse. Hopefully the thing doesn't grow like a big mouth and fangs and like eat them or something. What is happening? How are these things coming back? First, Tally and some of the others. Of course, we only saw those as visions. He is holding that mouse. That is not a vision. That is a physical mouse that fell down a pit. Could have been miles down for all we know, because it looked like even when Paul fell in that one episode, he was falling for quite a while, even before even before Mother was able to get to him.
A lot of slow developing things in this episode, but when you're at the end of it, you have big things. Like Mother and Father are still alive. both Caleb, aka Marcus, and Paul think that they may be the prophet, and Campion has completely denounced Soul and is now stuck in this grain silo.
Right. So hopefully in the next episode we're going to see some more going around, maybe Campion trying to escape, and then see what Sue's going to do, because it looks like she's being pushed to the brink and is ready to pretty much peace out as soon as possible, especially with everything that, except with the fact that Marcus got her injured, so she had to help him. But yeah, I don't know how much longer she's going to want to stick around, but we will find out, obviously, in episode 8. So we want to thank you guys for coming out once again to join us for our discussion for Raised by Wolves, and we will be talking episode 8 of the next one, called Mass, which had a lot of very fun and interesting things happening in that episode, and a lot more just questions to be answered that we have no idea what is going on. But these are good times. So we would thank you once again. Like and subscribe as always to the Z-Man Show, and we will catch you guys at the next review.
See you at episode 8.